cousins, and welcome back to my workroom. I'm going to be doing a snippet roll today, and that's really because some mornings you get up and you think, I really want to create something but really don't know what to make. So I've found that when I've got a bit of an artistic block, if I just pull out all my little bits and bobs and create a snippet roll, sometimes it can almost spark off some new ideas, and they're really quite fun to make. So people have often said to me, well, what is a snippet roll? Come on my desk and come and find out. Here I've got a collection of snippet rolls that I've made in the past. So I'm going to show you what they are. They're basically rolls of fabric, and they're all little bits, and I've sort of, if you like, created a ribbon with them, and these are all the different ones I've made. And that, for me, they're actually quite jewel-like. I really love the jewel-like quality of them. These are obviously monochrome, single colour. This one I've gone for a blue and a orange contrasting colour, just to do something a bit different. And what I've also then done with them is I've hand stitched them, popped them on a bobbin to create, let me just open this one up. I've printed on this one. So I've printed and then I've added the prints, I've stitched the printing on, I've put some textures of muslin, I've put buttons on. So this one I've actually done some slow stitching on top, or hand embroidery on top, put beadwork on it. And as I say, this keeps going. Like, people say, well, why have you done it? Well, because I've enjoyed doing it. And as I say, you can just create it, sit down, do a little bit, and then at the end of the day you can just either roll it up and enjoy it on the roll, or you can snip bits off and add it to other projects. So you could cut a section of this off and sew it onto a journal book cover, for instance, or you might want to sew it to the front of a jacket, because it'd actually be quite nice sewn onto a jacket. For pocket trims, as long as you used washable dyes and inks, or if it's dry clean only. So that's one I've made, and I actually just quite like it. Sat on the shelf with a little tiny, I have a little teddy bear that sits on it. You could go mega size. This is a bigger one. It's in fact so big I'll have to zoom out. And this one I've got a little pin holding it, and this one's more like a story. So this has got pictures of birds. This is actually a spring garden, and as I say, this has been machine stitched as a base, and then slow stitched or just hand embroidered with things like buttons and lazy daisies, French knots, unusual methods for stitching buttons on, printed embellishments that I've printed onto fabric, nice bits of ribbon, and that, as I say, is all about the spring garden, and that is quite a long piece, so I'll roll that one up. What I'm going to do today is quite a small one, similar to these ones, but I was inspired by this ball of wool. It's all multicoloured, so I thought, oh, that would look nice. I've done these all as single colours. I'd like one with lots of different colours. So I'm going to show you what I do next. Right, I've already gone through my jars on the shelf of my fabric scraps, and I've started to cut up little bits ready. So that might be a piece of scrap out of the jar, but it's too big to put on as it is. So I might just cut it at different angles to get different shapes, so then not all the pieces are the same. I find that if the shapes are too much the same, it doesn't have the interest or the texture. So all I'm doing is just cutting them into sort of thumb size shapes. nothing too big. And then I need to find a base fabric. So what I've got here is an old piece of sheeting that I've already pre-dyed. I find if it's got a dyed background it's nicer, it's more variegated, it's not an even colour, and that's what I'm going to work on. And I've gone for a fairly decent size. I can measure that. Yeah, it's 2 inch or 5 centimetres, and I've just gone for, oh, I don't know what that is, it's probably about 1.5 meters in length, but enough to keep me busy. Once I've got my pieces ready, I'm going to select my threads. So I'm going to use, as you can see, it's predominantly greens, purples, pinks, so I then want to choose those sorts of coloured threads. So once I've found my threads, I'll come back. I've got a nice selection of threads, so I've just gone for some quite bold, striking colours in the Coats Moon. It's a polyester thread. And then I've chosen a little bit of metallic, and I've got some variegated, and some plain variegated rayons that I kind of think they might all go. So I've got all my bits and bobs together. I will start machining. Right, okay, what I've done is I've set the sewing machine up with quite a neutral bobbin and a top thread. It's a very pale green, and I'm going to start placing the little snippets onto the fabric, and I'm just going to do a very normal running stitch just to hold them on. And what I'm going to do is going to do a little bit at a time. I'm going to do this side, then I'm going to come back and do the other side. So I'll just show you how I start. And I'm not sewing it particularly straight, keeping it quite even. Stop, get another piece of fabric that I like the look of. Might get another piece here. I'm just incorporating I'm actually just grabbing fabric with barely looking at what I'm picking out of my tray. My only rule is I wouldn't have more than 2 next to each other. So if I've ended up picking up more than I need, I'll pop it to one side and incorporate it later. Oh, don't want the purple too soon. It's a bit of pink. And if the pieces go across, they go across, it doesn't matter. The pieces started to roll up, I can replace them back down. Sew again. What's quite nice is to introduce sort of like a georgette. So basically what I've got here, I've got georgette, I've got satins, I've got silks, I've got some hand dyes, I've got some printed. I've just got a big mix of everything going on. So a bit of sparkle. Oh. Sparkle, a bit of cotton. And this in effect is almost like tacking it down, but the difference being I'm not going to remove these stitches, they'll just get caught up or they'll get covered up by future stitches. If I can overlap them, that's good. A bit of organza. It is a start-stop process, but yeah, that's okay. try not to think too much about how it's looking at this point. As I say, there's no planning. So the only planning is to make sure that I've got different bits of fabric appearing. There's some different greens. Let's have a look, see. Picked up a different sort of limey green. Another bit of that blue. So I'm just going to continue doing this and I'll come back and show you how I get on. Right, I've stitched to the end. I don't know if you can, I'll just zoom in a little bit. I've stitched to the end and so far that's what I've done. So it's not looking particularly grand at this stage, it's looking bitty, it's looking colourful but very bitty. So I'm just going to come round to this point. I'm going to turn around and now I'm going to add some more going back. So it might be that I overlap it, especially if it's organza. I might hide it, I might tuck it underneath. I might pop it on the top. I might sort of, at this point now, I can actually decide which one's the most dominant colour. So at the moment I'm just laying some bits down, making sure I've got pink and I've got the green. This is where I have to think a little bit more because I don't necessarily want to repeat colours, but I do want to be able to incorporate new fabric. So for instance I might put a little bit of pale pink in there. Might let that purple sit on the top of it, so I'm just going to lift that bit up. Could do with a little bit of organza, perhaps a bit of the darker pink would do as well now. Might lift that organza over the top, or I might not because I actually don't like that, so I'll put it back underneath. I might pop that bit there. Might be quite nice. I just carry on making sure I'm using colours that aren't side by side but might be nearby. I mean there's a bit of green there, but I might incorporate that bit of green there. I might put a bit of blue in there. But I might get that purple to come over the top. And hopefully get the idea that I'm just sewing more of the little snippets down. Sometimes I'm lifting them up, sometimes I'm changing the priority over which one's on the top. At the moment it still looks very bitty, but it will hopefully all come together when I start incorporating more embellishments and stitching and threads, etc. So I'll show you when I've got back to the end. Right, okay, what I've done is I've put loads of little bits, I've just sort of tacked them down really. All the way along. Where I've got gaps still, I have got some bits left, so when I go back and sew in I can still add some more snippets to it. As I say, at this stage it still looks a little bit tatty looking, but it should all come together with the stitching, which is why if you use variegated threads, it does bring all the colours together. So I'm just going to set my machine up for variegated stitching, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, welcome back. I've threaded my sewing machine up with a variegated rayon that goes from blue to pink, so it's not a solid colour. And the reason for that is I'm going to actually couch on this yarn, which is very pink, very burgundy. So by using a variegated paler shade on it, it gives me extra texture. And I'm going to use this foot here, and this foot here is called a couching foot or a cording foot. And you actually feed your cord into the grooves, and the sewing machine will zigzag across that cord, and you can see it just feeds through. So if you haven't got one of these, it is worth investing in one if you intend to do couching. You can couch with a regular foot, but it's much harder. This is so much easier. All I'm going to say to you is just check which groove you need it in, depending on the zigzag you choose. So I'm just setting my machine to zigzag. I'm just going to thread the needle, a thread to the back, out of the way, and we're ready to go. Now with this I'm just going to do like a meander really, and just go for a wander. You know, again, no plans, I just go where I fancy, and we'll see how it goes. And as I say, it's on a zigzag. Just checking if I'm happy with that zigzag. What I might need to do every now and again is to put some of the fabric still lifting up. So you've got to be careful of that. So that's just to show you how it's looking so far. I'm going to continue with this, and then we'll come back. Right. I've done 2 lots of couching now, here and here, and you'll see that I've started to put in a pattern stitch here with a variegated thread, and that's with the intention of it trying to bring the whole piece together because the colours change from green to pink. So I'm just going to show you how I'm doing that. I've changed my foot, I've set my machine up to do pattern stitch, and I'm just going to go for a meander. Okay, I'm back. I've done quite a lot more stitching. So as I said, I've done the cord, the couching in the cord. I've done some feather stitching in variegated thread. I've actually now started to use the plain threads. This is the bright cerise, and I've actually chosen a more simple, quite bold, straight stitch. So I've now changed it to purple. So I'm going to do the same again. Make sure that's all on. So far I have couched on some more threads. I've couched on this lime green, and I've couched on 2 of those. So I've now got 4 lots of couching. I've got different types of stitching in different variegated threads, and I've even got plain, the pink, and I've got dark green in there. I'm now going to think about whether I work on the edge or not, and this was my original inspiration. And so then I wondered whether it would work if I couched on the edges. So I'm just going to give that a go and see if that works. So that's just couching using a zigzag stitch and a variegated rayon. I've chosen to go back to my regular sewing foot. The reason being is the couching foot is too thin to allow for such variation in thickness of this wool. So I'm just going to put it as close to the edge as I dare. It's on zigzag already, and I'm just going to So that's how it now looks. All that I'll need now is things like hand embroidery and some beads, perhaps some little crochet flowers or something. I'll play around, add some detail, and I'll come back and show you how it's looking. Okay, I've collected some bits and bobs together. So I've got some new 6-stranded rayon thread. I've got a load of this sort of trim that I'm going to cut into individual daisies, and I think that would look quite nice scattered. I've also got a similar one, and I'm not sure, I might interdisperse it, quite like it. And then I've also got, I'm not sure that I'll use them yet, but I actually quite like these. I think if I was to cut the daisy and just pop one underneath every now and again, can just add a little bit of bling. I've also got a selection of buttons that I think will go nicely, and I've got some beads as well. So far I have embroidered a daisy, and I have put a metallic leaf on it. I think it just lifts it a little bit. I've also, I don't know if you can see, it's very tiny, it's very delicate, but when you can see it better in real life. But there's a daisy chain flower with beads in, and I've put another one here in pink and some beads. I just tilt it slightly, you can see the beads better. And I'm going to just sort of almost repeat that look and then interdisperse it with some buttons as well. So I've just cut out one of my daisies. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and just attach this. I've already got my variegated rayon thread on, just 2 strands I've gone for. I'm just going to do like a small, very small straight stitch just to hold that there, and one more. Like that. I'm wondering whether to go for a pink leaf this time, just to go in a different direction. So I think I'll have the leaf go that way. Well, these only have one hole in them. So I'm just going to catch that there and make sure it goes under the daisy. done there. And then what I might do is come back this way and grab a few little buttons. I can do some unusual stitches coming out of the buttons. I think what I'll do though on this one, I'll just do a cross stitch in the middle of this one. Now I like to cluster my buttons in threes. So I think I might have another one there. And another one, not sure to get there, further in. Oh, I think I quite like it there. And what I think I might do is, so those buttons don't come off too easily, I'm just going to tie them off. I might put another lazy daisy in here, or I might put small beads in. What I might do is carry on, because I've got quite a lot going on in that section. What I might do is carry on this way, and I can always come back and add more beads and things. So I'm going to cut that off. I think I'll do a lazy daisy just there. It's pink thread, so as I say, it's very subtle. You might not see this detail on the camera, but it does just about show as a flower. I come up near the middle, I go down near the middle, and I come out, and I make sure the thread is caught behind it, and that forms the loop. And you go on the other side of the loop to finish off the daisy chain. If you do 5 or 6 of these, you can form a flower. Just say I do like this rayon thread, it gives it a little bit of a sheen. Come up, and I'm going to put a bead in there. I think I might go for a lime green. Say, I don't know if you can see that there is a bit of a sheen to it, so you can actually see them. I'm going to carry on now and keep adding some more. I think thank you for joining me. I hope you found it useful, interesting, creative, inspirational. Have a go yourself. Take care. Bye bye for now.